Oh, and it's time to change. Oh, yes, it's time to change. Oh, yes.
Changes.
We're going through that wonderful time in a man's life here on the Steam Gentleman, apparently. Or my kids have given me a head cold that has settled in my throat. And I actually also make my living as an exercise instructor. And it's not like I need my voice for anything, while I make a living, or even in, my hobby here that we've all professed that we hope to turn into our living here. But yeah, okay. Yours truly is battling through, is here, feeling good, just sounding like shit, sounding, I don't know, somewhere between Bobby Brady, or is it Peter? I'm sorry, it was Peter Brady.
Peter.
It was Peter, and and maybe Demi Moore.
Oh shit!
Well, I think one of those was Reach.
Maybe maybe I can do some SMR or something. Start to tap on the mic, something. Whatever, talk in a breathy voice.
I'll give you like a Rumor Willis, maybe.
Okay, all right, I'll take it. Fuck it, I will take that. But you have arrived in the tunnels of the Steam Gentleman, the three hard-hitting pop culture journalists who ask the difficult questions, the ones that need to be asked. Like, since I'm on the subject of the Brady Bunch, how the fuck did Greg Brady, that is, afford to pay for that studio time? This is 1968, okay? Studio, like, it's not like we're, with us right now, just sitting around our computers in our various homes with, pretty high-end microphones for the cost and everything. Allegedly, exactly. That shit was expensive, man. Like, building a studio back then, that was a big deal. Like, nobody just did that. That was like seriously expensive mics.
Maybe they did. I mean, dude, hey, dad was he was paid.
Do we know what either parent did for occupation?
Oh, well, there was an
he was an architect.
He was an architect. And
Oh,
she was a
that's
homemaker.
right.
She was a homemaker with a maid. So she was living the life for sure.
Housekeeper. Thank you.
I'm just saying, if Greg was doing it on his own, we know he got caught with the joint, okay? And he's holding it for a friend, which we didn't believe anyway, or he damn well shouldn't have been.
Believed it as much as Clinton.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, maybe
Careful here.
he had a side hustle. That's all. I mean, is it possible? Like, he was living in Pasadena, like plenty of weed coming up.
Yeah, man, motherfuckers.
Hometown of three clubs.
That's all I'm just saying is, maybe he was just, hooking his friends up with the first one for free, and then,
So you're saying he was the first Breaking Bad? You're calling him Walter White?
I'm calling him like the early. You remember in the first act of Blow, the kid from Weymouth there, whatever his name is, the one who ends up importing the cocaine.
Yeah, all right, that's closer.
Weed. That's all I'm saying. He starts with weed, or I don't know. Maybe there were some meetings after school. I don't know what was going on. I mean, who knows? I'm just saying. Why was he always using the mouthwash? I don't know. I don't know. Just to, go Tucker Carlson on you here. I'm just asking the questions. Okay. There was a question there. There was something going on. And why are you hiding it from the American people, Greg?
We could do a whole other episode on conspiracy theories and weird shit that was probably going on in the Brady house.
There is that.
There is depths, dimensions, emotions. Like, there's a lot of shit that you could put on the Brady house because it's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of was. Yeah.
It was a weird
family
dynamic.
Before there were blended families. Alice, what exactly did
There have
Alice
been
do?
blended families throughout history. I love when we say that in this country. It cracks me up. Like, literally, there have been nothing but blended families. There have been monarchies that have been nothing.
Did Rashawn just hit off the segue?
Rashawn hit off the segue. Rashawn, it's like I'm passing the ball. I'm just throwing it up there.
It feels more like you're just putting a laser pointer in front of me and just watching me lose my shit.
Maybe there's a little bit of that too.
It works.
It does work. That's the worst part.
It's all about that fine line that kind of goes into it.
Word.
Yes, Rashawn with that tradition. That's here. Tevye is here in the house today, and that's what we're here to talk about as we record a little bit ahead of time here to try and make sure we can keep the steam coming to the fine Steam people. Rashawn had the, really great idea for a subject about talking about the traditions that we have that seem like they've been here forever, but they really haven't. And, it's an interesting point, right? We just sort of take some of these things. We got, I know I've managed to, being the good Jew that I am, with my wife, the shiksa, she, has managed to, bring out all the great Christmas traditions, which, all right, taking a step back, because my sisters listen to this show and they're like, okay, stop it with the bullshit. My mom, I'm the product of a second marriage. My mom converted. So I am a Phalassi. All right. I am a false Jew. I get it. And I was raised with I've said it before. I was raised with a nice pagan tradition of Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever the hell comes, upcoming. But yeah, we've put in we've done the elf on the shelf. We've done that. And we have advent calendars and all that stuff. And, the kids absolutely love
all the non-Christian shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because that's why
Advent calendar. Man. Sorry, I'll give you that. Although,
what can you
commercialism?
Do? Yeah, what can you do? You're a Jew.
Oh, here we go.
Christmas.
Exactly. So but to my kids, those traditions seem implacable. They've been there for always, right? When the elf on the shelf was just barely invented in their lifetime, I'm pretty sure, like slightly before. But yes, it seems totally implacable, totally something that they can rely on, which is what isn't after all that, isn't that what we have tradition? Something to give us comfort, especially as we head into the darker, colder months, something to hold on to, something to make us feel that we belong. And hopefully, in all the best ways, let's hope. But, some traditions are for there, and some traditions are maybe some can be left behind, but who knows? But I thought it was a great subject matter. So, but Rashawn nailed the segue, but I want to introduce you to him now officially, make sure that we don't glance over the introductions because, like I said, Rashawn, man, you killed that segue. That was just absolutely beautiful. Couldn't let that one go by.
I got no words for that segue.
Like I said, I threw that up there like a Brett Favre lame duck, man, and you just reached up above that cornerback.
We're bringing up Brett Favre in the season of giving. We're bringing up Brett Favre.
He gave a lot of interceptions by the end, but
but he taketh away, don't he?
But you reached up there and you grabbed that segue out of that cornerback's hands, man. That you did a beautiful job. Love it. How you doing today?
Well, thank you for laying down that sack for me like I was Warren Sapp. What did it do? How do you do? Nice to see everyone here and all of you. I would like to just quickly add to the story based off of what Josh was saying and experience of his children, that it wasn't until I moved to, let's just say, the nicer side of Framingham for the story of the purpose of a fast story. Yes, yeah, it was the nicer side of Framingham. Point being that's when I met the mythical creature that I had no clue existed up until that moment. And it was the children who got to have both Hanukkah and Christmas. Not sure how they pulled that off, but it was one of the moments that really started to put the crack in my understanding of, frankly, what it was real. Because I thought you kind of had to stay in one lane, and I'm up against these mythical creatures like... Let me explain something to you, son. I got 10 days. I'm like, wait a second. You got one Christmas day, and then if I'm getting Hanukkah right, I don't know if I can get to 10. They're like, yeah. We got lead-ins, we got this, we got that. I'm like, why am I missing on this? It's the holiday that is supposed to be going to my kin, the Christian, although some people disagree with that background. And I would just say that, God bless those mythical creatures, and shout out to all the rest of us who have to stay in one lane, be it Hanukkah or Christmas or Kwanzaa or Festivus or whatever whatchamacallits do. The people that don't even get Christmas, birthday cakes. Jehovah's Witnesses. Wherever you guys are doing, shout out to you too.
Eternal salvation or eternal damnation. No, I just
hope it's worth it. I hope you get there and it's what you wanted, because goddamn, you're missing some shit.
Yeah,
I just loved how you apparently described, like you sitting in a library with the dude with the sunglasses on. What if I told you? You could celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah.
That's what happened. Like one of my friends, we were talking about, leading into the holidays, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I got my Christmas tree up." I'm like, "Excuse me, whoa, stop, wait a second, hold on, bastard. You better back that up. What do you mean you got a Christmas tree?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a Christmas tree. One of my parents is not Jewish." I'm like, "But you get both?" So if my parent converted, he's like, "Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way." I'm like, "What kind of revolving bullshit door is this?"
I just like that you told us the story of how you were red pilled. I'm very happy for you. That was awesome.
Red pill from a red cup.
And with that, there we go. With that, I got no better segue today to bring in the star child, Greg Descents. What's going on there, Greg? Are you doing anything on side hustles to build us a studio? What's going on? You've got Greg Brady to live up to.
Oh man, I would not have done well in that whole situation. Thank you to everybody for listening and coming in today. Yeah, if I was Greg Brady, yeah, Jan. Jan.
Wow, not even Marcia, huh?
No,
right.
not even.
Nope.
Uptight.
All right, you're giving
uptight.
The attention.
Cindy, I'd have to wait. I ain't about that. Mrs. Brady, possibly, but
Alice,
definitely Jan.
Definitely
Jan. Yo, just straight crimes. So many crimes.
All right,
I'm telling you though.
Yeah. All right. But you gotta make sure that you build us a studio. Okay. That's all. Or get a studio time so we can put some sound.
Or at least fly us to Hawaii.
There's that. Yeah.
I mean, easy. I just need Mr. Brady money.
Don't we all?
Right. Seriously. I need Mr. Brady money. And, but then again, we don't know what his boyfriend was doing.
There's that.
So he might have made a good living too. So right there. Yeah. So could have been a lot going on. Just saying.
And I'm just saying, keeping up appearances was expensive. I'm just, you got the house, you got 6 kids. That's like not, that is not double income, no kids. Okay. That's
what I'm saying. The other guy had to be kicking in something because
would help. So
yeah. Otherwise, he's out.
No, I would hope he was pulling his weight. That's all.
Thank you.
But, all right. Well, another tradition we've trashed inside of the first 10 minutes of the episode. We're off to a rip roaring start. I can barely talk. Traditions are falling left, right, and center. And with that, I want to shoot it back over to the 3 of clubs. And I want to see what he's got to say here. I want to get into the meat on the bone and see what is up with those traditions that he wants to dispel and take the scales away from our eyes and just, bring us down to earth on like when this got started.
Yeah. So today's class, we're going to start with the kid who did not read his book. Instead of waiting to the last part, we're going to start the class report with the kid who didn't read the book. So yeah, I'll take a shot. I'll go after it. It's that time of year where a lot of things are being celebrated. And I know we are. We've talked about it. We've celebrated ourselves. Some of those things involve cutting down a tree for no damn reason and putting a bunch of shit on it and hoping that it doesn't catch fire throughout the night. Some of it is, breaking out special candle holders and, doing your best to try to keep your kids interested for over a week. Some of it is a whole another set of candles that, you try to get a group of people that had almost 200 years of separation to connect heritage wise. That's actually in another month if you're listening to this in November. But it kind of goes into a lot of the traditions that we, at least in the United States, like to adhere to. The funny part with that is that just like a lot of things in the United States, and what I'm about to say, we've even touched upon in a couple episodes prior, which is a weird statement that we all say on TSG. Like we keep talking about chronological order or when we said something, when some said something. If you're listening to this out of order, I say thank you for listening anyway, and you're welcome to the segment and welcome to TSG. You're going to get a lot of this from me, random non sequiturs. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. If you can remember, which was traditions, then, there's a lot of weird things that kind of happen to a country our age. And frankly, we are the teenagers of countries. I've brought this up multiple times. I'll continue to do that because it factors into the psychology of our own society and civilization. Mr. Birdman, please.
I just wanted to say, since we are the teenagers, there is a sock involved in this country right about now, like for sure. Like that's just happening. Just had to put that out there.
Look, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, but we've had the internet for a long time. The internet did not quite improve until people started put porn on it. Once porn got put on the internet, well, streaming services, you're welcome. That's all I'm going to say. You can do your own research, but I guarantee you're going to start seeing the technological advances that I actually knew happened and you knew it happened, but you're just not telling your neighbor. But anyway, that's fine. Not everyone likes to go to Adam and Eve and buy dildos to throw onto a field. So I get it. We don't all talk about our traditions. That's one tradition. Another weird tradition, since we're talking about sports, is throwing what was it, squid on the ice.
That's the Detroit Red Wings.
That's a tradition, right? That's something. Let's start early and people keep going, because that's really what traditions are, right? You can create a tradition out of anything and you can make it last and be important based off of the people that are connected to and the sort of lore that's created and how closely it's held to an individual's beliefs. Why did I even bring up the fact that United States, when it comes to the rest of the countries, the bigger countries out there, is kind of like the teenager in the group? Is because that actually factors into a lot of the traditions that we hold true and we think go back so damn long. But the funny part is, even if you were to make that argument, it's not longer in a lot of traditions that we actually brought over from other countries that kind of been, I don't want to say perverse, but morphed into this American traditions. There's a lot of different ones that come about. And because of the time of year, I like to focus on a few of them. Well, there's also the time of year, speaking of sports, where there's a lot of action on Sunday and Monday and Thursday and soon Saturday.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's like every other day there's football, which is fine. It's whatever. It's cool. and if you add in college, because when I said Saturday, that actually happens at the end of the NFL season. You start getting Saturday games too, because obviously we don't get enough football. But then if you add college, then it's like literally every single day. November is like literally every single day there's some football. Now, someone who grew up playing football and loving football and watching football pretty much his entire life, I got no problem with it. I can skip it just as easy as I skip anything else. So it doesn't mean I have to watch it, but when I watch it, I'm pretty happy. It's a great time for November. But if we focus on the pro side of things, there are some other traditions that come up that I think are pretty interesting when people talk about it, because they talk about it in the same way as if it came from England, as if it came from the Tudor period back in 1485, as if it came from the Roman time in all of Europe back in 55 AD, as if it came from literally Jesus himself or herself. I'm throwing it out there. But we act as if these things lasted for so damn long, when in funny reality, not as long as, in some cases, some people's kids. So, for example, you may have heard, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not part of this country, some, brouhaha about certain actions that happen in the beginning of a football, beginning of an NFL football game, where some people elect not to stand for the playing of the national anthem. Now, I'm not going to touch the national anthem, what it means, what it conveys, what sort of weird sort of pageantry that we put towards it, because on top of the fact that I'm not going to focus on that, I don't have time for that, and I'm trying to stick to some sort of time limit, but also every country kind of does it, so it's kind of weird when we're acting like we're the only country that does it, and that's all well and good. And to be fair to the people that hold the national anthem for NFL games near to their heart, and and something very sacred. I know when I played football, I had no problem taking my helmet off and holding my hand by my heart. Like I said, I came from a heavily military family, so that's not too surprising. However, we were playing the national anthem for an NFL game since 1942. But I want to stress something. We were only playing the national anthem. We did sing it in the first, there was sung in the first Super Bowl, and from that did become a tradition of singing it. However, the idea in the pageantry around national anthem in the beginning of a football game, a lot of people are thinking lasted almost, or it's been around their entire life. I've listened to people who are 70 plus years old talking about how you always stand for the national anthem and you're always in front, and the players do the same thing. That's all well and good until you realize that actually the NFL didn't start having players stand for the national anthem since 2009. I know, so far back. It's so far back that the next Jurassic Park is going to probably fucking have a dinosaur coming from that period. Like, I get it. It is way the fuck back there. But it's still 2009. So it's funny when we act like traditions are all over the place and last as long as Jesus. Like, we literally acted like Jesus came out from, one of his sermons and like, hey, by the way, also, we're playing football on Sunday. You better be standing for the national anthem. I don't know for what country it's going to come a couple thousand years from now, but when it does fucking happen, you better be standing. Yeah, Jesus definitely dropped the F-bomb. Look, he was hanging out with hookers, man. Like, hookers and lepers. You think he wasn't cursing? That dude definitely cursed. He was turning water into wine. That dude was trying to get lit all the damn time. His dad was God. Like, talk about pressure. But anyway, going away from that, because I want to continue to focus on some traditions that we finally, we love so much. And funny enough, when I'm talking about that crowd who gets really upset about, the players not standing for the national anthem that they did way back in their father's time of 2009, they're also probably in the Venn diagram of people who got upset with certain statues that got pulled down. Because, for the 246 years that this country has been around, those statues have been here ever since. They literally were here when the Pilgrims were here. Except for the fact that they actually started in the late 1800s for the first few. But then there's a big deficit. And then because of a group of pissed off women who were just upset that they weren't getting completely having their rights denigrated, and they want to make sure that the group that was taking all the rights got even more rights. So they went around and made sure that more statues got put up. But guess what? That still isn't that far back. That only goes to like the 1910s. And most of the statues that a lot of people that get upset about someone who's not standing for a national anthem, most of those statues happened in the 1920s, with the rest actually happening in the 1940s and 50s, and the last one, 1960s. So, it doesn't go far back. But don't worry, because since I brought up the Civil War, I'm going to end with the Civil War. Because other tradition that we all completely forgot about, but we think about traditions, is the simple fact that Thanksgiving used to actually be 3 days long. It used to be 3 days long for a long ass time. And by the way, you kept it real local. When I mean local, you didn't even go outside your colony. Like, it was just a festival within your colony. It was a big time, but it was 3 days long. It ended with, that unifier that a lot of people hate, Abraham Lincoln, at the height of the Civil War, saying, we were going to make this one day. We're going to actually bring this together, shorten some things. So, thank you, Lincoln. And then also, since I'm talking about lobster, if you love that turkey or you don't love that turkey, you should have been around when we first did it in 3 days long in the early late 1700s, 1600s. I always get messed up, because if you don't like turkey back then, you would have been eating seal, you would have been eating swans, and because we love to talk about how this all started in Massachusetts, you gotta be eating fucking lobster, kid.
Always the lobster, which we used to feed to prisoners. Well, I'm trying to make sure my hacking and wheezing stays off air. It's that type of thing, because I sound like Doc Holliday right now. Longer.
Whose Huckleberry are you gonna be?
I'm your Huckleberry.
Speaking of history, real fast, since you brought up Doc Holliday, it's still a debate whether he said Huckleberry or an actual term of someone who was a pallbearer coming from the South, a hucklebearer.
Exactly. So, Rashawn, I just got to have that moment where I jump in and get you back real quick. Talking about the national anthem, I got to go to the Pledge of Allegiance, which, didn't even have the words "one nation, individual under God" until the 1950s. It was written in the mid to late 1800s, and really only came into vogue in the early 1900s to sell more flags. So just, for all those people, I've seen a lot of them on the back of rather large pickup trucks lately. I've seen like the starting quotations that are plastered onto to the backs of windows and all that. I'm like, done so we could sell more flags, because
indoctrination,
because America, man, because capitalism, man. That's
the funny thing is, it's funny that you actually brought up the national anthem, and in the sense that I was just speak for my family. there's a lot of national sort of chauvinism that my family has for this country, because the way we look at it is there's more of our blood in this country and making it than almost anyone else. So it's our fucking country. And we don't give a shit what anyone else says. You had your chance of not making our country about 300 years ago. You screwed that up. So it's ours now. So like the indoctrination and all that, like I said in the last episode or the episode before this, if you're listening in chronological order, I was all set to go in the military. I like come from a family where you basically are either in the medical profession, education profession, or military. So I was all in. And I think it's funny that you brought up the Pledge of Allegiance, because that was actually my moment of starting to break away from a lot of things that I grew up understanding and thinking were just as solid as possible. And I remember having a conversation with my dad about it, where he and I completely butted heads on it, where he was like, no, this is the problem. You're not saying it in school. And I'm like, Dad, I know it from heart. That's not the problem. The problem is what happens when we have someone who's not from this country sitting in the class. Like, why are we just automatically putting this person at odds instead of just trying to build a community? It's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm like, all right. Probably. I'm 8, but you know,
my son is a leftist radical.
It started with that, and literally our next conversation moved to like me looking at him like, would I have been a Christian, raised Christian if I was across the street? I mean, born across the globe in different country. It's a lot of where you're born.
We found out a lot about the 3 of clubs today. We found out when he was red pilled, and we found out when he had his Field of Dreams moment, talking about reading The Boat Rocker by Terrence Mann and refusing to have the catch with his father. We've had,
there we go.
We got a lot going on with the 3 of clubs today, man.
There's been some shit.
I
definitely appreciate that, because again, growing up in an immigrant family, I'd be like, there's so many moments where I was like, do they really believe some of this shit? And it was really, it's really difficult because you're trying to fit in, like all the American kids making fun of you, and it's like a clash of like 12 cultures, like everywhere you go in those immigrant pockets, there's always a ton of different nationalities. So it's like the idea to be so ferocious about some of these beliefs were kind of funny and smacked of fascism, just forcing anyone to participate, like just making people participate. Like if you didn't want to stand for the national anthem, like you got in trouble. Like if you didn't know the words, like I can't remember one of the America songs. I don't know if I can remember it, but I didn't know the damn song. I'm sorry. It's one of the ones that we did not know yet. Okay. And this teacher like sat us all down and just gave us this really passionate speech about it. And it's like Haitian kids and African kids and like kid from Honduras, we're like looking at each other like, why is he doing this? Do you get paid to say it? Then I don't see the point in doing it in America. It just became dumb. And there's that, and the Thanksgiving thing. I mean, pretty much, globally, like if you have a massive harvest or a winter, there was a feast. There was a feast before the dark times. Like it was, very old all over the world. But that's kind of what America. That was kind of the point of America for the long time. Like trying to make itself the originator of so many things, you know what I mean? Like whether it's baseball or the hamburger, like just, this is where it all organically just sprouted up out of the ground. And to say it's not true, you hate America.
To be fair, we did say cook that shit first.
All right.
We did say, yeah, ground beef is nice raw, but how about we go ahead and put a little sear on that bad boy?
People still got tartar has grown on me.
Tartar is great.
Tartar.
Still not a hamburger.
My dad loved a tartar, that's for sure. But all right,
still not a hamburger.
I'm gonna step up quick here while I've still got a voice. Take my best shot at this. We'll see if we make it all the way through to the end. But we will give it a shot. But you guys have set me up again beautifully. Like we got the team dynamic going on here. You guys are opening the holes for this little running back to run through that. We're talking about Thanksgiving because I mean, there is just no way in hell that being from Massachusetts, where, I'm born and raised on, and even I was like, pounding my chest with silliness. Firstly, as many of you know, my lovely wife is from Canada. So, from that kind neighbor to our north that's been living over this ridiculous meth lab for the last couple, at least 6 years. I mean, really, since we got going, but the last 6 years, they're like, what the fuck are you guys doing down there?
Canada is
seriously.
Massachusetts to us being Florida. Like they just come down here to experience this shit and then go right back.
What the fuck? And a lot of them go to Florida,
Florida,
which is even better, just from they call them snowbirds, right, to get away from the winter. But yeah, even I was joking around with my sister-in-law, because she was like, well, we have the real Thanksgiving, and I just got my hackles up. I'm like, what the? Stop it. Right. Thanksgiving is not in October. It's in November. All right. For starters. And I come from the country and the state that invented it.
Weirdo.
Pounding my chest. But is it though? Like, did I though? Like, walking through as we were going on. So, Rashawn rightfully brought up the idea of making it one day under Abraham Lincoln, but most people don't even realize that we didn't even settle on the day that it was going to be. Yeah. He cut it down to one day, but we didn't even settle on it until 1941. I'm talking just before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. So like the first real official American Thanksgiving that, was, put into law by the U.S. government, that it would be the Thursday in November that it is now, the third Thursday. Is the last time we all got to break bread before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and we were plunged into World War II, and there was so much death and destruction. But let's take it back just a moment here, because we are massholes. We're up here in Boston, and you do have to understand that certain things, at least in the way we used to be schooled back in the dark ages of the late 1970s and early 1980s, we got the whole mythos pounded in our head about this first great feast between these pilgrims, which they kind of leave out that they were Puritan, extremely uptight. They were, we were talking about not having birthday cake earlier, and not, same concept, same idea. Christmas wasn't for giving gifts. Christmas was for church, man. You get your ass to church.
Literally, why they got kicked out of England. You're like, you fuckers are too square.
You're too square. You're too goddamn boring. You're so boring. Secondly, they come into Massachusetts and they're like, look at all this nice cleared land. Look at all these villages. Look at all this stuff. Like they weren't led there by a man. They weren't led there by a native to try and actually repopulate the area. First mistake. Secondly, they're even in early descriptions of it, of them grave robbing. Okay, going in to some of the Wampanoag villages around here, like digging up graves and taking some of the prettier trinkets out of it. Shamelessly talking about this. Nevertheless, without the Wampanoag and Massapequa and some of the other tribes around here, none of them would have made it a minute. Right? These, supposedly, all these. Uncultured, unintelligent savages actually know how to farm, and none of these people had any fucking idea how to farm, right? So unless they make it through, miracle of all miracles. So we're told that, that they have this wonderful feast. There is some historical evidence that the feast happened, but the fact of the matter is it didn't really even rate that high. It's sort of a footnote it's sort of a footnotation in some of the records that we have. Now, as I say, the Puritans were pretty prolific in their writings overall. So we had some sense of it, but it really was not, it sounded like, what we make it sound like was far too much fun, because as we discussed earlier, these are a group of people that got kicked out of England because it's like, Jesus Christ, you're so uptight. Just go to a foreign land, please. Okay. Get out of here. Leave just leave and let us have a drink in peace, for Christ's sake. But that leads me to just this, the mythos that gets built up around American Thanksgiving as we know it. Here I am, as I say, to my own in-laws, pounding my chest and talking about how we invented it and everything. Greg pointed it out beautifully, right? You're getting towards the dark times. The harvest comes in. Right? We've had Yule. You have all kinds of traditions that go on in, throughout that, going back to, I know there's a segment of the audience that'll start fapping away when I mention Vikings, but of course, the idea of the long hauls there. And trying to keep yourself going through the winter. We like I said, we build this mythos and we make ourselves the progenitor, particularly Massachusetts. I'm the first to admit that we are all in and all about that, Thanksgiving. And that brings me to turkey. Now, listen, I'm going to eat turkey on Thanksgiving. I'm not an asshole. Okay. I get it. Someone's going to make me a turkey. I'm going to eat it.
Still can't get that seal meat, huh?
And, all I'm saying is, in truth, you want to know why I look forward to Thanksgiving? Do you really want a true explanation why I look for it? It's called pie, people. Okay. I'm bringing the pie. I go ham for the kids out there. Google it. Means hard as a motherfucker. I go hard in the paint for the pie. Okay. I have like at least 4 different kinds of pie. That's what I look forward to. That is the only time of year that I just really can give myself that kind of permission to just have that much joy over that many baked goods of different kinds. And my middle sister, who I hope is listening to this, she makes the best trifle you have ever had, which is just because America. Okay. For those of you who've never had trifle, just want to take a little segue here. It's Cool Whip, and then pudding, and then more Cool Whip, and then Oreos and Kit Kats, and then more Cool Whip, and then pudding, and then whipped cream on top, because, you need to make sure absolutely everything comes out of a processed package here. All right. And why? Because fucking America. That's why, right? We call that freedom food here, but I do digress. That shit is good. I still look forward to it every year. Put that shit, boom, damn, bring it. Some Heath bar in there sometimes, but all right. Turkey. We settled on turkey. Why? Because once again, America, there was a lot of it. Okay. Rashawn absolutely pointed out that at the first Thanksgiving, it's unlikely that they had a lot of turkey. If they did, it was wild turkey. So, kind of gamey stuff. We still see that around here. Not the domesticated birds that we're used to with the really big breasts. Yes, I said it. And all the saline and all the hormones injected to make the bird bigger. Okay.
It's just sad that the listeners couldn't see the breast hand motion.
It's, listen, Italians, it's Jewish people and Italians. Okay. Like there's a sign language.
Way to pull in a whole group of people that had nothing to do with this.
Hey, that's all. I'm bringing everybody down. You know how it is. I'm going down in flames and bringing everybody down. But nevertheless, I talk with my hands.
All the Italians are the Luigi gif of him going by after he's
mean mugging me, mean mugging the shit out of me. But yeah, we get all excited about turkey, but realistically, by the 1940s, there was a lot of it in the U.S. We had a lot of it available. It was relatively cheap, and we could get access to it. So sure enough, makes sense. That's how a lot of culinary traditions begin. Really, economics, access. I still love a good brisket. It is, a hallmark of barbecue. It was a cheap meat for the longest time, right? There's a reason why the Irish and the Jews and all have a brisket, because for the longest time it was the cheap meat. Now it's not anymore, right? So it's, again, it's just how we do this. Everybody, thinks of turkey and Thanksgiving. Listen, guys, I eat it. I enjoy it. I'm very thankful for it. Because that's what the whole holiday is supposed to be about. But really, guys, it's turkey. We romanticize the shit out of it. And we, put it as this centerpiece of this special meal of which Americans really get into it. I mentioned Canada has their own Thanksgiving. They don't think of it as the holiday that Americans do. I will tell you that. They find it funny that we put this above Christmas, right? They're like, what is it? Again,
do we put it above Christmas? Because I have a Christmas tree up right now, and it ain't even Thanksgiving.
I'm just saying allegedly, but for my wife, absolutely. Like, as soon as Thanksgiving's over, we're starting in on that shit, and that's going to happen. So that is the way, but they find that weird. But yeah, we, again, taking a tradition that started in 1941 within some people's lifetimes that they could remember, we put it, we take it all the way back to this old country, back to a complete myth, and make it seem implacable, make it seem like it was always there. And we even take the central part of the meal, the turkey, right? Going back, I got to think it has to tie into Norman Rockwell's famous painting there, right? Of the Thanksgiving turkey. Yeah, it just, puts it right there, puts that image in your head. But sure enough, peel back one page of history, you're pretty well clear that that was not the case, right? We were just really We've relied on it. By the way, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving and go absolutely ham on pies. Just, I'm going Dean Winchester. That's all I'm saying. I'm bringing the apple. Someone else will bring the pumpkin. I know that much. And I'm bringing cherry pretty much for myself. I'm going to bring a cherry pie, like a small one, pretty much for myself because I'm the only one who enjoys it. But fuck it. It's Thanksgiving. I'm getting my cherry pie. Feel free to sing that Warrant song. I know at least most of our audience is just absolutely right now, starting to hum that song in their head. So there you go. That's my 2 cents worth. I guess I managed to keep my voice alive for that long.
I think you covered a good amount of it. I think especially the part, about, how long it's been around. Yeah, it is kind of funny that we do not put that in between, two, bizarre pagan holidays when Thanksgiving should be the most American holiday. Like it is tied, at least our version of it, it is tied to the American origin story. It does have lots of things that are from, this particular continent, from North America. Like it has elements that we can really say really belong to us, as opposed to, air quotes us, as opposed to like, Halloween, which is pagan holiday from Europe, no question about it. And then Christmas, Christmas, which was an illegal holiday at the beginning of the United States, because it was still a version of Saturnalia. And so it was really just about, again, more pagan traditions. If Jesus were here, he'd be like, why the fuck do you have a tree in your house? So it is kind of funny that as Americans we don't, but the god of holidays is still without a doubt Christmas. It is just a 3-month retail onslaught that we will never get away from.
It's only gonna grow. You're so right.
That's what Jack Skellington found when he fell through that tree.
Right. He woke up in a Best Buy like, what the hell?
Everything's on sale. What's this?
Is this in Circuit City?
What is a doorbuster? What's
Rest
this?
in power, Circuit City. I got a couple of W-2s from you.
Always
love and remember you guys. The older I get, going back to the quote unquote first Thanksgiving, 2 things. One, shout out to the Framingham school system during the 80s and 90s. And because I don't know what the entire school system was on, but I did not get the education that a lot of people in the rest of the country grew up in. I got the education that basically my teachers flat out from 2nd grade up, all ingredients were like kind of what Josh was saying. Hey, kids, let me explain something to you. If it wasn't for these Native Americans that were around Massachusetts, we wouldn't even be here because those fuckers didn't even know how to farm. Like, I got every version of that as I was growing up. Literally, I had even some teachers trying their best not to laugh each year when they had to talk about the fact that these individuals somehow figure out how to find a plot of soil that they did not know how to manipulate or understand. And they just kept trying. Like there's 3 winters where they just kept trying and kept doing the same dumb shit. My teachers was like, I don't even understand how we got here. So I don't know where it was. Maybe it was just a pocket in Framingham or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure it's not the same anymore. And then the other thing is, the older I get, the more I think of that first Thanksgiving. It's really a scene from like a quarantine type movie where the Native Americans are the ones who are coming in trying to help the infirm. They're just trying to cover up and do their best while they're giving the sickly whatever food they can because they're helpless and, dying and they don't know what to do. And the quote unquote first Americans were the sickly who could barely pick themselves out of their own feces, and Native Americans like, we don't know what to do with these people. I don't know. Give them some food. All right, cover up. They're fucking dirty.
Oh,
they use blankets for weapons, people. Blankets.
Come on.
You know how dirty you have to be to use a blanket for a fucking weapon?
That was the high-tech weapon, for Christ's sake. Germ warfare, for God's sakes. Come on.
It was ahead of his time.
That was that.
Who was that? It was General Jeffrey Amherst.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Amherst. Amherst.
Jebediah Springfield.
Right.
Another town in Massachusetts, but exactly. More Simpsons conspiracy theories to come, people. More Simpsons conspiracy theories. All right.
Not Shelbyville.
let's kick it on over to the Star Child, so I can limp here on through with what's left of my vocal cords. Let's hear what traditions he's gonna break down and trash today, because that's kind of what we do here. That's like, we like upending the table. We like really like, telling people, what's what, and everything you believed up until this point is a lie. That's what we do here.
I can live with it.
Yeah,
I can live with it,
hells yeah.
Well, because I'm not going to do American traditions. Well, I'm going to do a tradition of our species, more like it. I'm going to focus about how love is bullshit. Not entirely like the waste of time, but just to say that it never is or was what we thought it was, and it wasn't supposed to have the results that we think it should.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holiday, everyone.
Yeah.
Because it really comes down to the difference between romantic love and limerence. Limerence, the obsession with a person, just that longing that you have, and where you draw the line between that longing and that desire and that kind of ecstasy, and where it stops, and where does what we call love actually begin. Because to have those kinds of emotions, I mean, when people talk about them, like a lot of it sounds religious, doesn't it? Right? Like the same way that God is a concept that you'll never really understand, and that spirituality is something that you'll probably never really grasp. That's kind of the same sort of thing that people have with this notion of romantic love, with limerence. Again, like you have just this desire, but part of it is the fact that at the end of the day it's never really going to happen, right? Like it's part of that passion for it. So the question is, when did that start becoming the definition of what love was? Like, we know that marriage has changed marriage changed depending on agriculture. It depends on how much wealth people have. Like if you afford that many wives, well, then you can't have that many wives. So when did this concept of going for love as opposed to limerence come from? Because again, when people talk about that longing and that ecstasy, there's the famous sculpture, the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa by Bernini in Rome, and she's like, she looks like she's having an orgasm, and there's this angel who's like poking her with this arrow, and it's kind of fucking hot. You're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, what is this kind of ecstasy? What is that kind of ecstasy? And where does it come from? The idea of the muse, like this concept of a person or a thing that pushes you forward. And again, that feeling of ecstasy, where does it come from? This idea of that kind of romance. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it's men. I think men are the ones who are really behind it. I know most people are saying that the idea is that this would be something that women pushed for. What? No. I'm going to say that this is men. Yeah, I'm going to say this is men pushing this idea for other men, because let's be honest, like if you are the king, you can have as many of the best women that you want. But if you're a very average man, well, then you're always the underdog. And what is the basic setup for every rom-com? Right? It's always this idea. There's this big rich guy who's probably okay or whatever, but he's wealthy. He doesn't know what she really wants. It's always the down low, the underdog. He's the one who knows what she really wants. Like she's not really going to go after. Yeah, she's not really going to go after the alpha. No, she doesn't really want him. She wants someone who really speaks to something deeper in her heart. And why did this, kind of rebranding work? Well, because again, the definition of what marriage was and what love was for a long time, it was more of a business transaction in a lot of ways. It was probably more of a way of keeping up a religious or spiritual tradition. Here, it's something that's unattainable. Right. And it's that unattainability that makes it just irresistible. Just fall back on probably the best example there probably ever will be, Romeo and Juliet. right? Romeo and Juliet is the one, because not only was it a forbidden love, not only was it a love that they experienced only for a short while, but at the end they're both dead. They're both dead. They both die, and that is what makes the story perfect. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, these are two teenagers. Like, they didn't want to end up dead. Like, didn't they want to, get married, have kids, buy a little plot of land, hopefully someday reconcile with their families? Who knows? No, dead. That is the way that you would write the perfect romance. And who has to benefit from this? Well, men of that period, because it makes women say, no, the real romance, the real love is in this unattainable thing with this totally average guy under these extremely difficult circumstances. That's what we should go after, instead of the, probably really mundane, organized marriage that you have sitting waiting for you over here. I also make the point of, we've said it before, that action movies are basically rom-coms for guys. I mean, stop and think about it. There's always a wife to save. There's always a girl to save. There's always, a woman's sidekick or something like that. There's always something to prove to this woman. It's always, some guy who's trying to turn his life around, who doesn't want to be this way anymore, but the world just keeps pulling him back in. So now he's got to go off and, butcher like 60 people, and then he'll be back to save or, get back with his ex-wife or, ex-girlfriend.
Everyone's talked about Forrest Gump in my life.
Yeah, where that actually, ends up being is, this guy is going to be an emotionally destroyed sociopath. Like, there's no reason that he should be with anyone right now. Commando, he killed like 300 people, man.
To be fair, that was for his daughter.
You did for his daughter.
Yeah.
Kind of a, it's love. It's fine. But the point is, it makes him seem, it makes you focus more on him saving the little girl and a little less on the like 300. I don't know what the actual body count of Commando is, but it's something like 300 people. Easy.
I think it's the highest of all 80s films. I really do. I think it had to outdo Rambo. I mean, this was the action wars that
they killed so many people, they had to get creative. They're just throwing people off cliffs, putting pipes through people.
Right.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So with like I said, with men rebranding in order to make it more beneficial for your average guy to have more than the average girl, and the Enlightenment. And then obviously the world changed, like people don't have to make these huge sacrifices to have a plate of food. And so, yes, suddenly you have a lot of roles changing, like these things changed with availability of resources. And so, yes, you can have this kind of absurd understanding of love, but it's not actually love. It's an unattainable idea, but it's not the love that anyone actually wants, because the actual love, like Hemingway said, and maybe Shakespeare did have it right in this sense, every love story ends in death. Like, no one really wants to, it's becoming more of a thing to kind of highlight being two lovely old crusty people puttering around your dusty ass house. And you know what? We should all be so lucky. But the rom-coms and the action films and that sort of longing and that relationship towards how you also will never understand God was all part of a rebranding campaign by men.
That is some genius level shit. I'm not saying argue. I would just point out historically, there's one hurdle in part of that, which is if we're talking about the dowry period of marriage, that woman didn't have a choice. So part of the romanticism,
that's part of it too. Yeah.
It was just hoping that, to your point, she didn't get to have to go to that marriage that's already lined up, probably to someone about 30 years older than her. But now you got me thinking about Commando. And how we not talked about the weird fucking side characters, like side bosses that are throughout that movie? Like, what? How do you have a paramilitary outfit situation? You got guys showing up in like fedora hats. You got like animal print fur on one guy. Is like a pimp was there. One like how you have these characters as part of your criminal outfit? How did you get to this point?
The level boss wore a chainmail shirt just because.
By the time we get to that, it's like you're not even questioning it. You just saw like a bunch of side bosses that are literally just as ridiculous. It was a Nintendo game before Nintendo games are even around. It was. I love that movie.
Steam. Bennett.
There you go. I have to say,
you're gonna kill me last.
I'm backing up Rashawn again though. But when you were talking about it, firstly, Greg, I do think it's ingenious that you pointed out. When you point out about rebranding and taking that yes, our concept of romantic love was in fact the first Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday, if you prefer, right? It was, here it is. It was just, hey, we're rebranding this here. Now it's all about romantic love because I was thinking about, when we are just thinking in the grand scheme of traditions. And I thought about, Rashawn, I was thinking about what you were talking about with the dowry. When it does come to traditions and things that we always think of, when I hear people worry for the youth of today, it's one of my favorite things. I always hear it all the time. And, kids grow up so fast. And I think about that and I'm just thinking back. I think back to that farm in the 1400s with the farmer looking around and saying, wait, how many daughters do I have? Okay. And wait, this one's menstruating and isn't married? Get her the fuck out of here. Like right now. What is she still doing here? This is not helping me. So again, maybe kids learn some things. Maybe they do understand some things. But and again, also that same said daughter and that same said son were working that farm since they could walk. It was like, you can walk? Good. Get to work, right? Because we're going to fucking starve to death if you don't. So get on the plow and start learning how to do this shit. So it all tied in and tied together. Don't mean to bring it too far off from that. But
well, the funny thing is, God, I need to stop saying funny thing. I would also point out, or like to point out, that if you're around during that time in that situation, most likely you fell into the caste system. So to believe or to fantasize that you would be able to marry one outside of the arrangement, but two out of your caste and ideally into a higher caste was in a lot of ways no different than us right now in 2022 having fantasies of going to a totally different dimension or universe. It's almost as attainable to that individual back during that time. So in a lot of ways, to Greg's point, romantic fiction during that time, regardless of who's created for and who's aiming to, which again, great point, Greg. But still, you can argue romantic tales during that time were no different than galactic sci-fis during our time. It's about a fantasy that a human being could not touch, and it was easier for them to spend time thinking about it in a fantasy way versus working on realistic patterns to get there.
Well, we're definitely still in the throes of a sexual caste system because, again, throwing a wrench in this whole notion of love, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're a 7, chances are you're going to end up with a 7. If you're a 5, you're going to end up with a 5. If you're a 2, you're going to end up with a 2. So we may have given up on a
scoring
official caste system, but there's still very much a sexual and social caste system that you're probably always going to have to deal with because, she's an alpha. She wants an alpha.
Oh, I totally get what you're saying, but one's subjective, one's objective. Subjective, like I said, who's scoring? Who's giving the scores to those individuals to call them a 2 or a 7 or a 10 or a 1 versus caste? The objective part was money. There's plenty of stories throughout human history that there have been individuals who weren't meant for a certain caste, but because they were able to acquire a certain amount of wealth, that caste moved for them. It didn't necessarily matter in that moment. That was an objective move out of their caste versus a subjective which could change tomorrow. I mean, frankly, if we go back 300 years, what was considered an attractive woman is not the same as it is now. Matter of fact, there are so many different things that we do now that people 300 years ago will look at. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you monsters? Now help us farm this soil.
Oh, again,
did they brush their teeth? But I think we can sum up this
episode. The reason.
Yeah, was it possible? Now I have to say, I think we can sum up this episode with national anthem bullshit, Thanksgiving bullshit, love bullshit. All right, thank you for coming to our TED Talk. All right, it's all a fucking lie, kids.
I would argue
fucking Christmas.
National anthem, stand if you want to. Thanksgiving, eat turkey if you want to, or pie. And love, be with someone or not if you want to.
I love it when the three of clubs takes the silver lining route. That's fantastic.
Segue.
Woo, I love it. All right.
Don't worry, Ben. I got a little love for you.
There we go. All right. Well, as we've mentioned, we're recording on Thanksgiving week here, so we kind of know our plans, but let's go around. Rashawn, what are you going to be doing for Thanksgiving as the week comes up? Where you headed out to?
Funny enough, based off, God damn it, that's the right after I said I'm not going to say funny enough. I said funny enough. So fuck you, funny enough. Past that, I'm going to be heading down to an area that plenty of people in this area will quickly point out to you. The Pilgrims didn't land in Plymouth first. They actually landed in this small little section of Massachusetts right at the edge, sticking into the ocean, that a lot of people either know as P-Town, or if you want to be proper, Provincetown. So I will be heading down there.
Nice.
Celebrate with my in-laws. Shout out to Vin Diesel. Way to get lapped by Dave Bautista. That dude, I mean, really do something. Shit.
I'm still a John Cena guy. Come on.
Or John Cena. Shit, I had something else and I'm probably not going to remember until you guys start talking. So I'll shut up now. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And I swear to God, I hope you guys spend some of it being in some sort of enjoyment or pleasure or something. I don't know. I just hope I don't know. Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, I'll segue off of that, with my favorite John Cena quote, which is, "I look like Mark Wahlberg ate Mark Wahlberg." That's still, I think that, he delivered that line with a lot of passion and he meant it. And that was some damn fine acting in the movie Trainwreck, no less. So, but Greg, what you doing? What's the, we bringing some Haitian flair to Thanksgiving. What's going on?
We always do. Just going to do the 3 F's, food, family, and fighting. And I just want to say that philosophically, I'm always on the other side of the table with Franklin. You know what I'm saying? I'm on that side of the table with Franklin.
All right. Yes, Franklin. Loving Franklin, man. Come on. It was all good. Well,
no, it was not. He was on the side of the table by himself, little black motherfucker. All the other kids.
They put him next to Pigpen. That's the problem.
Gave me some fucking, what do you give him? Toast and popcorn. I'd be like, bitch.
Yeah, no
bring me all over here so you could do this racist shit.
I mean, it was Minnesota, not Maine. Come on, man. I mean,
bro, no, man. I'm over there. I'm on the other side of the table with Franklin. Always.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
I'm glad you're taking care of Franklin, which is good. It's needs to be done. Got to give a little more love to Franklin out there, man, in the whole Schultz universe. Without a doubt, that guy's keeping it together under difficult circumstances. Well, I got barely.
What about you,
Birdman?
Other than
I will
be
heading over to my nephew's place. He has a 2-year-old daughter, and he's got another. We've just found out another baby coming on the way, so very exciting. Exactly.
Sex.
Yes. Exactly. We're like, oh, really? Okay, then. All right.
You've been fucking.
Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say.
Nobody look away. Nobody say that. Trust me. It makes it all the funnier. But we will be having Thanksgiving there, and it'll be nice to see my family that's gathered. We gather there for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So it'll be a nice time. It'll be a good time for the holidays. And yeah, I am gonna eat some food, and I'm gonna eat a shit ton of pie, because that's what I do on Thanksgiving. Like, I'm just going in hard on the pie.
Shit ton of pie, heard.
All about the pie. Oh, all right. Now I remember what I had to say, which, cut it out if you want to. But Greg brought up something really fast that made me think of how Thanksgiving is connected to the Salem witch trials and all the years that led up to the witch trials, which don't get covered a lot. But that's actually when a lot of the murders happen, when they're just burning teenage girls left and right. So I'll be as fast as possible. But Greg brought up a point, and it's clear. Feasts happen throughout the world when you have a lot of harvesting going on. If you're in an agricultural basis of a country, which is predominantly like 90% of countries in the world, you had a feast, right? You celebrate. And back before electricity, you're going into the dark months. We talked about what the witching hour actually really meant way back then. It's how Josh got a new family member. So with that said, there was a lot of downtime during or after the feast, after the Thanksgiving. You probably fucking went crazy with boredom. So leading into each new feast, you probably built that feast up so much that within the 3 days, it was probably a giant goddamn party. You lose it. You go crazy. Now, I'm from Framingham. Now, I'm from a town where we didn't know how to party unless we were wrecking shit. And it went every single party where it just got worse and worse and worse. Till finally, the last party of my senior class, we damn near brought the house down. And I'm not kidding. Why am I connecting that to the Salem witch trials? Because I'm sitting here trying to tell people after about 100 years of going into the dark times and leading into each new year, into that feast and building up the excitement more and more, finally someone's like, we're just going to wreck shit. And unfortunately, that just turned into murder. Happy Thanksgiving.
Then. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Love is a lie and murder. That's what we're taking.
Don't burn teenage girls.
As you're taking that away from this episode,
you're probably 10.
And I'm holding my voice together for this. Please go on over, rate and review us on iTunes. Listen to us. Tell a friend. Follow us on the socials. We got a nice little community growing there on Do You Even Steam Bro on Instagram. It's a good time. I'm meeting a lot of nice people out there. A lot of people sending the memes, sending the love going on in there. We are the Steam Gentleman Podcast on Facebook, and we gotta really start trying to look into this tickety-tockety stuff. Twitter, well, it's on fire, so fuck it.
Deleted TikTok because the communist won.
Okay, all right. So it's all right. Well, we'll figure out. We'll figure out where we're going. We'll get our social media game even tighter. But I've been meeting a lot of nice people out there. So
initials are TS.
There we go. We've just tried to, real hard to just get out there and meet the Steam people and get you out there, and hope you can come and keep listening to us and backing us up. But in the meantime, this is Josh, your buddy, saying keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on.